Wait for it, and we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans. It's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans and one chaos coordinator. Although the other veteran and chaos coordinator are kind of AWOL because life has not been kind to us with their schedule. So instead, we're going to geek out with our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies with Jena as our co-host. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we're going to let our guests introduce themselves. We call them guests. I was just thinking you were the perfect Greek choir as you were like oohing and awing. Now, if you could do the sad sounds too when we get to those points, I'm going to like clip this and make it my ringtone. I'm just saying.
Oh, nice.
All right. So Miss Kacey Ezell, can you introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers at home?
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Kacey Ezell. I write emotionally charged adventure fantasy and science fiction, and I am 1/3 of the Feral Ladies.
At one point in time, Kacey was the reigning champion for the longest episode we ever recorded. And then we recorded with David Weber, and he beat her by about 15 minutes.
Well,
so.
yeah, that checks out. David Weber, hello.
And I'm not sure if the 15 minutes is fair because David also talked an hour before and 2 hours after. So
yeah, that's on brand. So
yeah, so like it's the best 5 hours of my life. But at a certain point, I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom.
No, it's yeah, and it's always a phenomenal conversation with the man, right?
Yeah, we
like,
went everywhere from like the future of brain science to like fiction and history. It was all over the place.
Yeah, he's so great. Yeah.
So, all right, next we have the lovely Miss Marisa Wolf.
Oh, that's me. Hi. I am Marisa Wolf. I write science fiction and fantasy that ends in hope, which does not mean the entire story is hopeful. So just promise to leave you on a good note.
I thought, when we introduced you as Marisa Wolf, the next time you could go full I was going to say that you could howl, you could go like full WWE on it. Like howl at the moon.
The number of people who have asked if like, oh, is that your pen name? Like, nope, born with it. That is my name. So. Yeah,
I could see why people would think. I did run to a couple. I'm like, oh, that's your pen name. That's the name my mom gave me. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, like dang, all right, yeah, it's pretty great.
So I get it. You don't always get to pick your names, and if you threaten to change your name, moms get really mad. They threaten to beat you. It's a whole thing. Or maybe that's just me.
Why would you change Marisa Wolf? Right? Like.
No, you wouldn't. But see, when your name is Justin and you hate it and you tell your mom you're going to change your name, she
doesn't like that. That's fair.
And the whole X number of hours of labor and this is the name you were given. You will keep it.
Brought you into this world. Yep.
Take you out of it.
Right? Yep. You can't really trump that when mom does the hours of labor quotes. Like it doesn't matter what she says. She could make it up. You still win at that point, and I lose.
Yeah,
it's true. Until you provide grandchildren. Then they bring that shit and you're like, excuse me, I have paid you back.
Nice.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I wonder if that will work or if I'll get bopped in the head.
You will get bopped in the head, but it works for daughters.
This is true since, my contribution to labor was standing there and holding a hand.
I mean, look, we all do what we can.
Right.
And I will tell you, because one of my kids was born the day before St. Patty's Day, asking your wife if she can wait 12 and a half hours so we can have a St. Patty's Day baby, that is not how you win friends and influence people. I'm just going to lay that out there. That did not work out well for me.
That is death and dismemberment territory.
Correct.
That's about what she said. Funny how that works.
Yikes.
All right, next we have Miss Melisa Olthoff. Or is it Olthoff? I never get this right.
So ignore the H. Pretend the H doesn't exist. It's Melisa Olthoff.
That sounds more proper. I will go with that. Olthoff. I feel like I need to lift my pinky in the air and drink some tea.
Yeah, so no, it's
very German.
Fancy.
I am very Irish.
So if it's German, we need a Stein and some beer.
Well, she's Irish. Yeah.
My husband agrees. I'm very Irish, but I married into a Irish-German family, so here we are.
But you get schnitzel. Nice. That's kind of cool. And
schnitzel is amazing.
My grandma used to make apple pancakes, and it's I can't remember how to say it in German. At one point in time, I spoke German, but those are really good too. It's like crepes, but with apple filling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You say it creeps. I don't know. I've never actually heard anyone mention them.
Don't make me hungry at 9 o'clock at night, JR.
Our unofficial nickname is the Foodcast.
It's true.
We ought to put warning labels on that. But
Yeah.
all right, so Miss Jana, our stand-in co-host, more and more frequently. I mean, like at this point, I might have to get her one of the T-shirts or something for staff.
Wait.
I told you I need a title.
Did Melissa actually introduce herself, or did we just do
I
pronunciation?
was going to say, how did we skip that part, JR?
See, this was a test, Marissa, and you
Dude, I
passed.
paid attention.
Well done. You were looking out for your friend.
Thank you. So I'm Melissa Olthoff. I write sci-fi, I write fantasy, and I speak in romance because I write what I love to read, and I love Marisa and Kacey because they are my feral ladies.
And we've determined she's very Irish. So
I love it. And now we need a
whiskey
title for
and-
Jana.
Yes.
and pale skin and sunburns.
Yeah. My face is
That does happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at the barber shop the other day, and like my hair is as brown as it can get, but one of the hairs in my underbeard was like fire engine red. So he pulls it out when he's shaving. He's like, "Sir, if I'd have known you were a filthy ginger, I'd have charged you double." I'm like, "Ooh, okay." He had a sense of
Harsh.
humor about it.
Took a hard
Yikes.
line. Wow.
Yeah.
Bad words.
Wow,
I mean,
with the
we got
discrimination.
discounts, so I wasn't complaining. You could say anything you want to as long as you don't take me extra money, right?
There's that.
Although it's a huge trust exercise when you do the proper shave and they use the
Oh,
straight
yeah.
razor on you.
Yeah.
Because I keep thinking, was it Sweeney Todd where they cut the like? I'm
Yep.
like, I get a
I
little
don't want to be a pie. Yeah.
right, and I'm like, we're friends, right? We're friends.
Still
So-
okay.
Well,
Still
I think so anyway.
I hope, because otherwise there's no more me.
Oh,
All
that's
right.
no
Sad.
more.
That would be a tragedy.
No
Some
more.
people say that. Some people not so much. Like when I forget to let them introduce themselves. But you know,
She's definitely not
Hopefully
plotting your
she's
death.
forgiving.
It's fine. Yeah.
I don't know. She's giving me that look. All right, Jana, save me from myself and introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Jana S Brown. I write urban fantasy, science fiction, and whatever else tickles my fancy under the pen name Jena Rey. There are several other me's floating around, but we never talk about them on this podcast unless it's funny. And I'm happy to co-host. Like I say, we've now said this a couple times. I need a title because since I'm stepping in for our chaos coordinator and our other veteran, we have to come up with a title eventually
Shenaniganator.
because it's a thing. Oh, I do like that. I do like a shenanigan leader. We may have to make that official
Shenanigator
there.
is an actual real word for the leader of shenanigans, the Shenanigator. Well, there we go.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, I like that, but
It's
you have to
archaic,
be
but
able
it
to pronounce
exists in the
it.
dictionary. Of course, pronouncing it's going to be a whole nother thing.
I mean, the worse it comes out of your mouth, really, the more on brand it is. So
It
Yeah.
is.
This
It
also
is
true.
funny that
We're
way.
like a duct tape operation. The quintessential F it, we'll do it live. That's us.
that's right. Yep.
Yeah,
See?
yeah, we all the time. So,
I love it.
but yes, and I'm excited because when we were talking about co-hosting, it's like, well, I've got this podcast coming up, and it's going to be a bunch of ladies, and you're better at talking to them anyway, and they're called the Feral Ladies, and then it goes to the list. I'm like, I know them. I've listened to their stuff. I have been at the same conferences that they have. I haven't necessarily spoken to them, but I know them. I know them on Facebook, and so it was like, yes, these are my people. I must do this one. And then he sent me a thing earlier, and it's like, are you hosting with me tonight? And it's like, well, duh. I had to finish watching a car chase first, but now, yes.
Well, that puts you right in the
does?
mood, I think. Really.
Wait.
Yeah,
Tell me about
that's
this
the
car
right
chase again.
vibe.
Were you
this
running
is
from the police? Or
No, unfortunately. Oh, wait, no.
Yeah.
Uh,
On the
my
internet,
husband
she wasn't.
is a big fan of true crime, police shows, all of this, that, and the other. And they had a big chase going on. And he's like, "You have to watch this before you go start the show." So I did have to watch, and it was you got 12 cop cars and this Tahoe that's on wheels that are just ginormous, and it's weaving back and forth and swaying. And yes, eventually it did flip over on its top because you can't
Yeah,
do a car chase in that
obviously.
for very long. Totally worth it. Very much fun. Anyway,
Totally
but
you
we're
were
here
saying it
now.
was a white Bronco for a second, but I guess not.
That's a
Well,
different decade, different millennium.
totally different thing.
Oh yeah, the kids won't get that
The
reference.
evolution of the white Bronco.
That's right.
Oh,
it's
that's
been
right. It's
upgraded.
like the Super Saiyan version because it's got the big old
Yeah.
wheels.
Yeah, I was thinking like the evolved Pokemon version, but yeah, same.
I'll pretend that I knew about Pokemon more than I know what it is, like the terms
Love
from it. I tend to fall asleep when the kids watch it. I mean, I'm checking light lids or light leaks in the eyes. That's what it is. I'm not
That's it.
sleeping.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So the next part, since they've all been on the show multiple times, we're going to skip the standard religion questions and we're going to mix it up a little bit on brand, which is the reason I brought Jana here, because she knows more about the fantasy stuff, not because I'm afraid to talk to girls people. Or
Believe what you want to.
women. But so, what is your favorite magic item, Kacey?
My favorite magic item. I got this question ahead of time, and I thought about the other two, but I didn't think about this one. Maybe, I don't know if this counts, but one of the like coolest uses of a magic item that I can think of off the top of my head is the Holy Grail in Indiana Jones. And
Totally counts.
yeah,
Good choice.
just because of the like the coldness of the knight saying he chose poorly.
Oh,
Nice.
it's good.
Hey, now I need to go watch that movie again.
Yeah.
We named the dog Indiana.
We named
Yeah.
the dog Indiana. Yeah. Oh, that movie.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
makes
in
us miss
fact,
Connery.
we did one of the Indiana Jones movies for a review, but I think
That's the one we did.
That's the one we did. There's the other one,
Yes.
the Temple of Doom, I guess, is the one we wanted to do next.
Yes, we talked about doing Temple of Doom, but we haven't done it yet. We did, but we started with Last Crusade because it's Sean Connery
So
and
good.
Harrison Ford, and
Yeah.
that combination is the best of any of the ones that they have. All
Oh,
the other movies have great points to them, but that is quintessential.
The chemistry between those two actors, the dynamic between those two characters is just chef's kiss,
Amazing.
right? Like,
Yeah.
loved it.
All right. What about you, Marissa? What is your favorite magic item? Is it like a glowing alligator or something like that?
It should be, but even better, it's something that can hold a glowing alligator. So last year, Kacey Ezell got me into my very first Dungeons and Dragons game. I'm actually holding my very first set of shiny math rocks as we talk.
Oh, I love it.
And I am going to choose the bag of holding,
Oh,
Oh,
that's an awesome, yeah,
especially just
incredibly
coming off.
useful.
Yeah, just coming off a con weekend. Good God, do I wish I had a bag of holding?
Yeah.
The number of times I was like, oh crap, that's in my other bag. Oh crap, I don't know how to carry this. Oh crap, I have too many things in my bag of
Yeah.
holding.
Yep.
Bag of holding can get you killed in some games, though.
But not at a con, probably. Unless I take a glowing alligator out of it and he's mad.
Apparently, you're not supposed to put magic weapons in a bag of holding. Something about temporal displacement. I don't know. James blew me up when I did it.
Oh no.
James Ward, he likes to kill party members, so he killed me for it.
Yeah. That's a different kind of game than I'm playing. So
Yeah, nobody wanted to hold hands or hug me afterwards. I don't know what that was
It's
about. They were just
weird.
like, suck it up.
suck it up. No, we have the DM who's like, you sure about that? I'm like, yes.
Whenever they ask you that or they give you
Ask
that
it.
look, but they don't
Mhm.
say anything, like maybe second guess your life choices.
Yep, maybe 3 and 4 guess. But yeah.
And if their eyes start twitching, because I've gotten that before too, that's also a bad sign.
You probably
just-
don't want
Or a
to.
Let's
really
throw that
good
out
one.
there.
Yeah.
It can be a really good one.
Sure, you could ruin their plan by
Yeah.
being so awesome. All right, Melissa, what is your favorite magic item?
So I'm pretty sure this says more about my personality than anybody needed to know, but I would like a magic staff that could like focus magic attacks and everything, because then if I ran out of magic, I could use the staff as a weapon.
Mhm.
Oh,
brilliant.
bludgeoning. I like
Dual
it.
use. Dual
Right?
use.
Brute force.
Brilliant.
Maybe a little mace head on it.
Yes, because as Tony said, a mace is a woman's weapon.
Love it.
Why is a mace a woman's weapon?
Tony Weisskopf passed on some brilliant advice for weapons at LibertyCon this past weekend, and one of them was that a mace is a perfect woman's weapon because it hand fit and propulsion and the spikes and the really just it's like whacking with a purse but with spiky edges. It's perfect.
Mhm.
I had no argument against it. I'm like, this checks out.
I mean, who
I'll
doesn't
allow
like
it.
to like
I'll allow it.
bludgeon things, right? Like,
I mean, who hasn't wanted to hit somebody with a
Least amongst
stick
us.
on a rock on a stick, right?
what I just said.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the rolling pin upgrade.
Ooh,
Spikies.
I see that crossover.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay.
There's
What about you,
there's
Jana? Do you have a favorite magic item?
I have lots of favorite magic items, but my favorite magic item right now would be our friend Melissa has a wand of what does she call it?
Bashing.
It's a world door. So
Oh.
you can just zap things and you can go anywhere you want in the entire world. And I love going places and experiencing things. I hate the process to get there. I have a bad back, so sitting on airplanes and sitting on trains and sitting in cars, I hate all of it. I take drugs and I try really, really hard to ignore it as much as possible. But if I could just zap myself there, and especially because of LibertyCon, because I had all these people this year going, "Are you coming? Are you coming? Are you coming?" I'm like, "You are a gazillion miles away from me, all the way in the far-flung east."
Yeah.
No, I'm not coming this year, but I think next year it has to go on my list. And I wanted that wand of world door, because I just wanted to zap and go through and go see all my friends. And wouldn't it be nice just to say you just open a portal and just step through?
Yeah,
That would be amazing.
The problem is with with LibertyCon, they sell out like 5 seconds after they open.
Yes, they do.
Sometimes 2 whole hours.
Couple of hours, yeah.
Sometimes, so that's generous of them.
But they do announce ahead of time when the tickets go on sale, so
July
we know that already
at noon Eastern.
So we can plan. Yeah.
So are you like sitting with your computer on refresh or the second?
Yes, that's also how I go to DragonCon.
Yep, it's like the Big Bang Theory episode. Refresh.
I believe it. Well, I guess I'm going to go kind of boring, old school, simple, but my favorite magic item is always an elemental sword. And I'm partial to frost because once you freeze it and then you hit it, it can shatter and it could be cool visuals. I mean, flames are cool too.
Useful as a sword, though. If
and flames are cool too, just because, but I don't know. There's something about watching things like crumble into a bazillion pieces.
Yeah. I had a really cool sword in Skyrim that, like, during the day it did one thing and during the night it did something else. Like the day it was on fire and during the night it did like freezing damage or something. It was
nice.
Pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't mention how many thousands of hours, but Skyrim has sucked up a little bit of my time.
I wish the sword off all the time so people would bring me more swords, but yeah.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
now, go ahead.
I was going to say Skyrim is my preferred form of creative rest, really.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So what race do you pick, and then what faction?
I think my favorite probably is the Dark Elf. I like the Dark Elves because of the fire resistance. Because I just like to like run at the dragons and hit them.
Can we pet them?
And pet them. Yes, I want to run at them and pet them with my sword. And then faction. I'm usually an imperialist. So, but I also am become the leader of the Dark Brotherhood, and I also become the leader of the Thieves Guild, and I play all the factions.
This all checks out.
She does all the things.
I do all the things because I have FOMO, and I don't want to let any Skyrim adventure go unadventured.
That makes sense. It really does.
Okay. I don't like the sneak and peek approach to gaming, so I just kill everybody in the Thieves Guild.
Sure.
You leave one alive to share, to sell what you steal because you got to fence it. But other than that, you just kill.
But then you can't do the whole Nightingale quest and get the coolest armor in the game.
So you look for light and medium armor so you can be all stealthy though.
Oh hell yeah, yeah! I'm always
because the Thieves Guild doesn't have good heavy armor.
No, I always devolve to stealth archer. Always.
I always go with the Oblivion armor when I get it because it's cool looking. I know you can get like some that are better than that eventually, but they don't look as cool, so I suck it up and deal. Because rule of cool is a thing.
Yeah. That's how I feel about the Nightingale armor.
I'll buy that. I like the. I always side with the Nords. I play a Nord and then side with them against the Imperial because it's religious freedom should matter, right? Sure,
Sarah, you do everything wrong in Skyrim.
I didn't think there was a wrong.
Well, I will say the Imperium got one thing right. Their roads, top notch. They make good roads.
They do make good roads. Yeah.
So did you play any of the others? Morrowind, Elder Scroll, there were a few others.
I did not, but I recently started a playthrough for the first time ever of the remaster of Oblivion because I never played it before. So yeah.
Oblivion has that one psychedelic world where you go into like an alternate dimension that's all loopy, like somebody's acid dream. And ever since I've played that, I'm like, I really ought to write a book like that because that just was kind of fun. It was like Mad Hatter meets, I don't know, medieval and the weirdness.
Okay.
Sure.
You'll dig it when you get there. It's a DLC. If you're doing the remastered, it should have the DLC.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I'll get you some screenshots later so you can see what the weird looks like. It's awesome.
cool.
Okay. Very cool.
All right, Marisa.
What?
What is your favorite spell?
My favorite spell. Ooh, my favorite spell is Mage Light from the, I don't know how you say the word, eponymous? I don't know. Whatever. The title also is Mage Light by Kacey Ezell. I love it. I love it a lot. So it is like light orb magic, basically. And because at the beginning of the book, for reasons, it's basically the main character's only spell. And she uses it with, I'm sorry, I have hair in my mouth. That's how excited I was about it. But she uses it so creatively because it turns out light is a great weapon. Because if you hold it too close to somebody's face, they can be blinded and burned. You can illuminate things. You can hurt things. It's a very multifaceted spell, and the character uses it incredibly well throughout the book. And it's also very top of mind right now because at LibertyCon this last weekend, people brought her a bunch of little mage lights.
They did. It was so cool.
It was very cool. So, favorite spell and favorite fun thing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Light is important and it's versatile. So I will take it. All right. Kacey, I realize we got distracted talking about Skyrim, and I don't think I got you to tell me what your favorite spell is.
Nope. That's why I was like, what are you asking me?
Well, so since I asked you first, she can't steal your thunder with the book.
Okay, I win.
Yeah. So my favorite spell actually doesn't come from Skyrim. It comes from an old World of Darkness vampire game. There was a spell, and I don't remember the name of it, but it allowed you could take it at pretty low levels, and it allowed you to speak with and at higher levels command animals. And I saw this was in a LARP, actually. I saw one player. Now it took several weeks, but one player basically just upset the entire existing power structure of the game simply by making friends with and commanding insects and rats in this city. And once he had the rats, it was amazingly brilliant. And I it never occurred to me because it's a pretty low powered spell, right? But just because the character was friendly to the rats and the rats would do anything he asked for them, like he took down the entire power structure, vampire power structure of the city because rats are everywhere. Insects are everywhere. His spies were literally everywhere.
Nice.
And so ever since then, I'm like, commanding small animals is pretty freaking OP. Yeah.
Who says rats are small? I have seen these huge, humongous rats fighting for a piece of pizza in the New York subway during COVID.
Sure. Yeah.
Comparatively.
But small in comparison to humans, for example.
True.
Or,
could we call the New York subway rats dire rats almost?
We probably could, yeah.
Pretty close.
JR, the First Amendment says you can call them whatever the hell you want.
This is true. It's good to be America. And as you listen to this, because this is going to air on July 3rd, just remember the assignment's due tomorrow.
That's right.
I'm just saying the assignment's due tomorrow.
That's right.
And like every year since it happened, I know it was filmed when Queen Elizabeth was still alive because they say Her Majesty, not His Majesty. There's a funny video of a British tanker in his tank where they actually built in the tank an actual tea kettle because you got to have proper tea at war, I guess.
Tea.
He tries to teach the Americans on the 4th of July in his tank how to make proper tea, and I share that video because it's just hilarious.
That is funny. My favorite 4th of July video, and I'm sorry, I know I'm like speaking out of turn, but my favorite 4th of July video, and I share it every year on my Facebook, is a clip from the movie The Great Escape. And it is the one where the 3 American prisoners who are there with a bunch of British aircrew prisoners, because it's the story of Stalag Luft 17, I think. Anyway, it's based on a true story, and it was mostly British prisoners of war, but there were like 3 Americans there. And these guys get together a bunch of potatoes from no one knows where, and they use it to make potato moonshine. And on the morning of the 4th of July, they have like a homemade like little puffer explosion that wakes everybody up out of a trash can, and they start banging a drum and playing a homemade pipe to wake everybody up and call them all out, shouting, "Down with the British, no taxation without representation," and they invite them all to have American moonshine over at the wash stand. It is my favorite clip, and I love it so much, and I cannot wait to post it again this year.
I love it. I was going to say the only proper way to prepare tea on July 4th is to throw it in the harbor.
Throw it in the harbor.
So when I signed my contract for my very first book series, it was with a British publisher, Tim Taylor, and his publishing company. He's British. They lost. This is in 2015. So they didn't, like, we weren't digitally signing it at the time. I don't know if it was around and we just were too uncouth to do it that way, but we printed out a proper copy. I signed it and mailed it to him because he needed an ink copy for his records. They lost it. So the company, I think it's not FedEx. I don't think that, whatever international shipping company lost it. They're like, JR, we will let you mail it again. I know this is time sensitive. We'll overnight it for you. Don't worry about the weight. Like, we messed up. And so I got a card that, and I put a Lipton's tea bag in it. And I was like, found this in Boston, thought you might want it back. And that was the message as I signed the contract. And so, of course, every year he sends me a happy National Treason Day, you colonial T word.
Nice.
So,
it's only treason if you lose.
That's right.
Wrote a whole story about it.
You did.
So the other one I thought you might say for favorite 4th of July thing is there's a famous video that floats around of an Air Force helicopter pilot standing outside of his chopper on the flight line doing the speech about Independence Day from Will Smith's
it's a good one.
Independence Day.
Independence Day. Yeah. He does that speech perfectly, and he had it memorized. It's too cool not to share every year.
That's fun.
That's fun.
I thought you'd name that one because he was a Zoomie.
Yeah.
It's cool, though.
Right.
It's nice of you to share the limelight with, the World War II POWs.
How often is that sentence?
Wow.
Yeah,
you just put that in the record book.
Those guys were air
things
crew
JR
too,
said.
JR. Those guys were air crew too. So.
Oh, that's true. There you go. All right, Melissa, stop me from putting my foot any deeper in my mouth and tell me what your favorite spell is.
So it's a little similar to Casey's answer, but I was always, especially as a kid, fascinated by like the spell to call an animal familiar, because clearly we all love the whole concept of bonding with another animal,
I know what you're talking about.
specifically dragons or griffins. But I really like my little
All the stuffies. All the stuffies.
I always really like that concept of like, ooh, I can cast a spell as a witch and I can call a familiar and it will be like my friend and my companion and maybe eat people for me if I get a
very useful skill set. Yeah.
So
I want a giant ghost leopard to eat my enemies' faces off. That sounds amazing. Or a dire wolf.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You'd never get a speeding ticket again. You just tell the officer, "Are you sure? Are you really, really sure?"
Are you sure?
I'm just saying. There are benefits.
Scary familiar privilege.
That's right.
Like my scary dog privilege.
Nice.
Do you have a favorite spell?
I do have a favorite spell. My favorite spell is Shrink Item.
Ooh.
Because it allows you to. So I came onto this in an old D&D game. I've been playing D&D for a long time. But it was one of those spells that I just, you get it on your list and you go, well, what am I going to do with this? And it's like, well, you can take these items, you can shrink them, and they become the weight of parchment, and you can stick them in your pockets and carry them around. It's like, well, that's a great way to loot things. But what I also found when I read the rules a little more carefully is that you can toss it and it takes back its full size and full weight. So it became a running gag to collect the heaviest possible things I could find and then throw them at enemies. Because as I threw it, it would go, and it would crush them. And my poor DM, at a certain point, he's like, stop it. You can't just defeat the things by throwing stuff at them. I'm like, why? There is nothing in the rules here.
That is the coolest feeling when you can weaponize low-level spells that were meant to be just nuisances and turn them into a thing.
Right?
That's awesome.
Those are my favorite spells, are the ones that you use entirely out of place. A fireball's nice, a magic missile is nice. They're all nice. But when you can take a spell and you can go, here I am using it for things that are really helpful to me, but not intended by anybody who ever came up with this spell or any DM who tried to defend against it. Because watching your DM go, you're going to drop that throne on him, aren't you? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm totally dropping that throne on. I've been holding this for the last 3 days in game, and I am totally dropping it on his head.
Love it.
So, yeah.
It's
I love
Brilliant.
useful spells.
In gaming, you can take a wizard that you want to keep alive long term because they're weak in the beginning. A weak fireball. If you carry a bottle of alcohol with you, suddenly you've got a portable Molotov. You just throw the glass and boom,
Why not?
your little
Yeah.
spark doesn't have to be that strong. The flames do all your work for you.
You know what? Our D&D group is meeting tomorrow. I'm retaining all of this information.
Yes.
So originally, I was going to say my
Hey,
favorite spell were the ones where you can absorb health when you hit the enemy with your sword because it's kind of a cool tank weapon.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking because Kacey mentioned Skyrim, and when I first started playing Skyrim when it first came out, we were still living with my parents because our house was under contract, and so we were between digs at the time. And when I got the soul trap, because you steal the souls of the baddies to power your magic items. And as soon as I got soul trap, I'm like, I know what I got to do. I made my character have ginger hair, and I called mom and I'm like, look, we got a proper ginger now. She was not happy. In fact, she turned the game off before I could save. I don't know why.
Oh no!
But I like the soul trap too, because you're like stealing the enemy's essence, be it health or their soul, and you're using it to power your fight against them.
there is something in that.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
So I don't know if that translates outside of Skyrim because my exposure to RPGs started on the video game side and then expanded, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just makes it hard if you want to transition into like lit RPG writing because you don't understand how any of the math works. It just always happened in the background.
The math. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
And
learning curve.
then you hire people or co-write with people who have to come up with all the math for you. And let me tell you the number of arguments Jay and I have had where now I just write in because of game stuff. You can't do this because of game stuff because the math doesn't work.
I told her I had this genius idea for a lit RPG story, but I didn't know how the math on the game side works. And she's like, well, this is my hourly rate. And I'm like, well, hear me out. What if I put your name on the title after I write it because your contribution would qualify? She goes, extra books. Okay, sir. And then she probably regretted it like a week later, but it was too late. Contract was signed.
Too late. Oh.
So
No regret. It's going to be really cool. But yes, there are times that we're like, because of math, you can't do that. Because he'll go, they should fight this thing. And I'm like, okay, the math of a third level fighter versus the math of a ginormous monster.
Not ready.
It doesn't. It's squash like great. That's what happens here.
Book 3.
well, we also had disagreements because she's like, party size of this number of people at this level can only fight this number of baddies. I'm like, yes, but we have M16s. And so then she made me break them so we couldn't keep
I
doing
broke
that.
the M16.
So,
Works better
what are you
without
gonna
the
do?
M16.
All right, the last and most important religion question before we start talking about feral wild magic is coffee or tea, and how do you take it in the summer, Kacey?
I do not take either coffee or tea. I drink sugar-free Red Bull. And this summer, I have been enjoying the summer edition, which is a white peach flavor of sugar-free Red Bull. Delicious. Good. Yeah.
I'm not saying you're addicted, but I'm not saying it either.
Whomst amongst us.
Well, yeah,
Right.
I was going to say, how many coffees do you drink a day, JR?
I mean, technically only 3 cups because each cup is 36 ounces.
I was told there would be no math.
There you go.
Yes, so there would be no math. That's
I
that old
was-
gig. The mom thought the D&D was devil worship, so she waffed and then she left and
This is math.
said, "This is just math."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Refuse to answer the question based on my Fifth Amendment rights.
right.
There you go.
That's the running joke in our families every time because sometimes the family likes to meet at Cracker Barrel because who doesn't love a good Cracker Barrel? And they've got these giant candy bars that are like 10 pounds, but it's 1 bar. So I say, if you get that, you could tell the doctor I only had 1 candy bar. I don't know what the problem is.
I don't know the issue or why my heart exploded. It's fine.
Exactly. All right, Marisa, what do you drink over the summer?
So I will still drink a hot coffee in the summer. I can't be stopped. I also drink iced coffee in the winter. But I do so this past weekend in Chattanooga, because I'm no longer accustomed to a Southern kind of summer, I drank iced vanilla lattes the whole time, and they were amazing.
Okay. Do you like regular vanilla or you go French vanilla?
I don't have a sophisticated enough palate to tell if it's from Paris or not. So it's just vanilla. It's not like the champagne of vanilla, so I don't know.
So technically French vanilla is just hazelnut and vanilla.
I honestly did not know that. I do love hazelnut and vanilla, though. So there you go.
You can buy the 2 together in the sugar-free syrups, and every one of my coffees is a French vanilla coffee.
Nice.
So I do that because it's sugar-free.
Yeah.
See,
Nice.
so I can tell
It's
my
totally
doctor I'm being healthy.
Yeah. You got to drink it with your pinky up, though. No worries. I love it.
You know, I ought to like stretch my hands out then so I can do the pinky up. I probably ought to work on that.
Yeah, get a little stretch.
I mean, I've broken every one of my fingers at least once, so I'd have to take some work. But I'd like to blame the Army for that, but it was rugby that did that one.
No, checks out. Yeah.
So, Melissa, you have time to think. You have recovered sufficiently from Liberty Cup.
She didn't need to think about this one.
But I see it in your hand, so could you tell us anyway?
It is always an iced mocha. That is,
this is an excellent choice. It's like hot chocolate for grown-ups.
Mm-hmm.
It's just iced caffeinated chocolate milk, and it's all I drink at this point. Like, you cut my veins, and I'm gonna bleed mocha.
So,
but I'm the addict.
I said us.
Do you make it yourself, Melissa, or do you get it at various establishments of fine beverages?
Yes.
All of the above?
All
when
of
you
the
make
above.
it yourself, who do you use for your mocha? Like what brand? Do you have a preference?
I think it's Monin syrup.
Yeah, that's okay. I know some people that like the Ghirardelli, but that is just so sweet. It's like,
yeah.
I feel like Walter Brimley's going to come back and smack me in the face. Diabetes.
This is definitely not sugar-free, though.
No.
All the sugar.
Hold on, I have a follow-up question. Are you currently drinking it out of a measuring cup?
Oh, me? No.
Okay.
It's got flowers. Okay. It's pretty.
Just when you brought it in real quick and put it down, I was like, is that a whole ass Pyrex?
Yeah. It looks kind of like a.
I mean, now I feel like we all have goals for Marisa. When we do that, we ought to take pictures and send her of us drinking out of, 4-quart.
Yeah.
It is a sizable cup.
Yeah. I don't have a big enough cup.
16 ounces of deliciousness.
So you know what, dear listener, the first person that sends Marisa a picture of them doing just that, I will give you a free audiobook.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
And send me your caffeines and your pets.
Yes.
Well, that's all you. That's a Marisa thing.
Yeah.
I've got to find a pet. I went to the pet store today though, and they all look so cute. But apparently, I want all of them is not the right answer.
Yeah, that's
it is the only answer. However, it does not work.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, and my wallet didn't like it either because apparently, if they're properly bred animals, they want like $250 billion.
Yeah.
Just sell a kidney, you'll be fine.
Money.
Do you think they want mine after years in the Army?
No, they don't want any of your bits.
Salesmanship.
All right, Jana, tell us. I know you're going to surprise us, but I'm thinking you're having Pepsi this summer.
Okay,
Hey.
we were friends, and I don't know that we can be anymore. If you're going to speak such blasphemy in front of me, are you kidding me?
Didn't Dr. Pepper come out with a new flavor this summer? I seem to remember seeing a commercial for that.
They have a couple. They have a cherry this summer. They have a vanilla float this summer, and they brought my very favorite, which is the coconut back. So on a daily basis, I combine just Diet Dr. Pepper with the coconut. But the other thing that we drink during the summer, we drink a lot of, is root beer. In particular, there's a brand called, my daughter likes to drink Dad's root beer. And she had to explain to my husband that wasn't that she wanted to steal his root beer. She wants the brand that's called Dad's. That was a funny conversation.
Yeah.
And then I like Sprecker's does a low-calorie root beer, and it is phenomenal. It's very hard to get a hold of. It comes out of Wisconsin. And every now and again, to surprise me, my husband will pay the phenomenal amount in shipping that it takes to order us a 6-pack of this low-calorie root beer, and we chill it, and we use it for anniversaries and this, that, and the other. So I do have a love outside of Diet Dr. Pepper. It's just Diet Dr. Pepper is always first in my heart.
Nice.
Okay.
That's fair.
That is the thing. All right, and I'm an iced coffee in the summer kind of guy. I will still drink hot coffee as well, but something about icing it, and it's the ritual of making it and then letting it chill and knowing it's just there waiting for you, calling to you, taunting you because they want you to drink it early. So, whatever. Well, anyway, we came here to talk about feral magic. So before we do that, we're going to pause for a moment while we shamelessly chauffeur the men and women of Henchman Press, and then we'll jump into the topics.
They're specialists, corporals, and petty officers. They're the military personnel who have learned some leadership and gained experience in their specialty. Work smarter, not harder is their watch phrase, followed by, if you ain't cheatin', you ain't trying. The masters of avoiding work, getting up to shenanigans, and when a mission needs to be completed or a job done, it's an E4 that others turn to. They are the near-mythical E4 Mafia, and their ability to avoid work, solve problems, and create trouble is the stuff of legend. Henchman Press presents 11 stories of the E4 Mafia in a variety of settings and situations sure to thrill and entertain anyone with an interest in military fiction, science fiction, a sense of humor, and the curiosity to peek under the rug to see what got swept there. Get Tales of the E4 Mafia from Amazon.com today.
All right, thank you for sticking with us through that commercial interlude. And full disclaimer, I'm totally biased because I'm going out in their volume 2 whenever that gets put together. But apparently, Henchman Press, the guy that runs it, has this thing called a life. I don't know what that's about. So it gets in the way of publishing things. Like I said, family, kids, they want him to see them. I don't know what that's about.
So weird.
So weird.
Yep. Awful.
And so with that out of the way, it sounds like because we have a time limit where they have to bounce and they just can't spend all night talking to me. I don't know why.
Crazy.
Kids, food, whatever. So it sounds like we're going to have to do a second episode where we definitely dig into this deeper. And I will ask you first, feral magic was the topic because you're the feral ladies. But feral magic and wild magic are kind of synonymous. So one, what do you think qualifies as that? And then two, do you enjoy it when that is instead of the more organized magic systems?
Ooh. Can I go first?
Absolutely.
Yes, jump in. Now we're to the jump in part of things.
So my favorite sort of concept of magic is that magic is a force in the world. And humanity, I guess maybe it's a trope, right? And humanity thinks that they understand it because they have rules and systems and ways in which they utilize magic. But the truth is they don't really fully understand it. And it's neither good nor bad. Neither good nor evil. It just is. It's like gravity, right? Or electricity. It's all in what you do with it. And the things that people who manipulate magic utilize to constrain the force of it or to direct the force of it. Sometimes those have, can be quote good or quote bad. But the force itself is just is. That's my favorite trope of wild magic.
Can I introduce you to a plague of magic? So agreed. And that is how magic works in the Plague of Magic that comes out in September. I love. It's
not an accident that I loved this book, by the way.
Thank you. I love. There's like an internet meme going around somewhat recently about I love when you have a traditionally formally trained warlock come up against like a wild magician. They're like, how are you doing that? You can't do that. You can't just blow shit. What? And it drives them crazy. I am a creature of chaos. Surprising. And I love when magic, it makes sense, but maybe not to human minds. And it just kind of can be used with intent more than here are the formalized rules and the 40-year course of study that you need to use to get to it. I love it as a foundational force of the universe. That's my jam.
Me personally, I love the concept of it just being wild. Yes to both of what they said with it being foundational, a universal force and everything, and not caring one way or another. But I love that that wild aspect where it's if we follow these rules like baking, then we get this thing. But it's not really a science. It's an art. And
yeah.
Maybe you'll end up with this usually. And sometimes maybe the magic just is feeling a little bit feral that day. And you end up with, a gecko instead of the ghost leopard you were trying to summon. I don't know.
For instance.
Carol, dear Lord, feral or chaotic aspect. Because this is where I'm at tonight with words. I think it's fun.
Yeah, chaos magic is another good name for it, I think, for wild magic. What I like about it is, generally speaking, it makes it more approachable because the average man could stumble on the concept of the wild magic, but it's also unpredictable, which gives you a lot of fun, like balls that shoot out of left field for no strange reason. Just stuff happens, and you're left trying to make it make sense. And I'm sure at some level, whoever's writing it, there is a reason for everything other than just the plot if they're good. But you don't always understand it right away, and I kind of like that.
Yeah. One of the other things I also, oh, sorry, Marisa. One of the other things that I also loved about, and Marisa did this in Plague of Magic, and I also played with it slightly differently in Mage Light, is the concept of like forgotten magic, right? Like, so maybe it once was a system that was more well understood than it currently is now, and so much of that knowledge has been lost to time or war or deliberately being suppressed or whatever, because those are things that happen, right? Just due to human nature and the ways in which we interact with one another. And so it makes sense that really dangerous knowledge, like, I don't know, manipulating elemental energies or whatever it is that you're doing with your magic, it makes sense that human nature would be at play there too. So the concept of like, okay, we once understood how to work this, but we don't know anymore. And so it introduces an aspect of, or an element of, like you say, chaos or randomness into the magic. Like, well, we think that this is as close as to the ancient spell as they used to use, but we're not really sure because the translation's not exact. And maybe we'll get the spirit we're trying to summon, and maybe we'll get Melissa's gecko, that is omnivorous and on fire. Who knows?
Yeah, I was gonna say related to that. I love when that's a reveal through multiple books.
Yeah.
So like you were saying, JR, of like maybe the characters don't know it either. Like we think we understand, and then in book 2, it's bigger and more mysterious. And in book 3, like I love when it grows because the characters are finding stuff out because things have been, like Kacey said, forgotten or suppressed, or ended the world and so made illegal. It's fine.
Yeah.
Minor details.
I
mean,
like that.
ending the world, what's the big deal? It can grow back.
Yeah.
DJ Butler did a really great job of this in his Witchy War series because, he starts with Witchy Eye, which if you have not read DJ Butler's Witchy War series,
So good.
Pause the broadcast, go order it, and then come back once you have it on its way.
Read it later, but get it now.
Phenomenally good, right? So good. But he starts off with the character who has a moderate, small understanding of magic. And as she progresses, she learns more and more. And it's interesting because she learns from a multitude of different sources. And all of these sources have a slightly different way of telling her, well, no, this is how you do magic. Well, actually what you do over here is this is how you do magic. And so she's synthesizing all of these different, bits of knowledge together to a more full understanding of the fact that really it's just, the magic just is, and you just have to do something and believe that it's going to work, and it's really, really cool. Phenomenal series. Highly, highly recommended. With the first one's Witchy Eye by DJ Butler from Bane.
Which you can get for free from the Bane Free Library.
It is I had forgotten it is in the Bane Free Library. So first one's free.
It's free. Yeah.
That's right.
That is like a drug dealer giving you that first hit for free.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so good.
Absolutely
So good.
true. Yeah.
And there are some that are that aren't in the Bane Free Library that are just there short stories temporarily. And all of you ladies have had short stories in there that cycle in when books are launching. So it's worth, aside from the free library, it's worth checking out Bane's website because periodically there will be free short stories. And I love short stories, so it's cool to find places that still appreciate that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So,
and I believe they have a newsletter. I sometimes confuse my Bane and my Tor and my other things because I'm on too many newsletters. But they'll tell you new short stories available. So if you forget to go and check things the way that I do, get on their newsletter because that way you get that brain jostle that says, go check those things out.
Yep.
And Kacey, you were mentioning World of Darkness, and they did magic in lots of interesting ways because they would say, here's the sphere that it kind of belongs in. It's correspondence magic. And then the mages had to come up with, well, how do you do correspondence magic? If this is the effect that you want, what are the things you're going to do? So I think that's another kind of feral magic where it kind of has a little bit of structure around it, but there's a whole lot of fussy in between.
Yeah, for sure. I never really got into mage in Old World of Darkness because it was so complex. But that's one of the things that's great about like this concept of chaos magic or feral magic is that it can be incredibly complex, right? Yeah.
I also like with the whole concept of the chaos or feral or wild magic, however you prefer to think of it, is that because it's an unknown, it is less predictable. I think sometimes when you take magic and you almost make it too scientific, it loses some of that allure, some of the fun of like, okay, what's next? Or why didn't you just do that? Because you don't know how everything works. But once they make it too rigid, you almost box yourself in plot wise because no, that's not how that works. You said over here in this book that spell requires whatever. Like the fact that it's wild, that chaos agent is kind of an X factor that can take a somewhat standard plot and give you Red Bull wings.
There you go.
Yeah,
I think
totally
it really depends on how you use it, right? So like Brandon Sanderson has very clear magic systems.
Yes.
Very clear.
Very
to the point that when I was first reading Mistborn, thank God it was in paper so I could flip to the back to be like, what does this metal do? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Wait, what does this metal do? Oh, okay. He still manages to like find creative uses and twist it, right? At some point. So it's still interesting. And in a similar token, people like me who prefer a chaos magic, it can be a little too easy to just be like, well, it's magic. It just zoop. It just does the thing. And my plot.
Well, see, that's where I guess
you need the no. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I think you just need a good balance. Like, you can still be really clever with rigid, and you can still go too far with chaotic. But I am on the chaos side, and it's just about like.
So I guess
I think there's not. You still, even with chaotic magic or feral magic or wild magic, you still have to have internal consistency to your story, right? Now, that's not to say that you can't have magic that sometimes, like, you could do the exact same ritual steps and it will have different effects because it's magic. But if that's the case, then magic has to be that unpredictable throughout the story. Does that make sense? So there's still internal consistency as a story, as far as the story goes, even if the effects are not necessarily consistent within the constraints of the story. Does that make sense?
Ideally, if it's done right, yes.
Yes.
So I guess that's where I distinguish between the reader hat and the author hat. On the author hat, I think you have to know how it works so you can be consistent. As a reader, I like to be surprised.
Oh yeah.
And so that's that balance. And even if the surprise is it can go unintended ways. Maybe it's ley lines or where they're standing on the, I don't know, whatever reason you make up.
Full moon.
But I like that it is unpredictable because there's a little bit of fun in that. And
Oh yeah. And I would also say, go ahead, Melissa.
I was just gonna say I also like worlds where you have different kinds of magic systems and different kinds of magic users. Like, for instance, Valdemar. You had, the White Winds school. You had this school of thought. You had these, and I'm blanking on all the names because of who I am as a person at this point in the night. But you had all these different types, and they had different ways of accessing magic and using it. What was it? Raymond Feist, the magician. You had like the low magic, but then you had the main character. He wasn't a low magic user, so he sucked at it because he was a user of a magic system that no longer existed in that world. And it wasn't until he got pulled in through the rift to a different world that he realized, like, oh, I'm a high magician. And I think I'm using the right term, but it's been a while. But
it's been a while.
I just like the different systems and the mix of it because there's some chaos in that too, where you don't know necessarily are you getting a druid, are you getting a magician, a warlock, a priestess? This is very cool to me.
That's cool.
Okay. So I know, they got edits at the last minute because publishers are unreasonable and they want them to finish books. I don't know what that's about. But so as we wrap this up, have you written your own? And I'm going to go in the order that you guys have to bounce. And once you answer, you can fade out, and then Jana and I will wrap it up and read how to find you guys. But Kacey, have you used wild magic, chaos magic, feral magic in any of your stories? And if so, where can
Hang on, JR, because we have to make a promise first.
Oh.
We've had so much fun, and we didn't get to go nearly as deep into this as we wanted to. So, dear listeners, we are going to promise you a part 2. This is not the
Absolutely.
end of our feral magic discussion.
Wow.
This is just part 1. Whet your appetites. Next time we'll skip some of the early stuff, and we will dive in deep with these ladies and maybe even get them to read us some of their favorite stuff from their books.
Oh,
So
shit.
pretty
okay.
please think
Ah.
of magic scenes for me. So there's my interjection. We're coming to the end of part 1, but hang on with us, dear listener, because part 2 is coming.
Because we're feral, so
We
no rules.
are.
Yeah, we break the rules.
We
all
don't
the time.
follow the
We
rules.
follow our own rules.
All right, so Casey, have you used feral magic in yours? And then I know you got to bounce afterwards because the unreasonable people over at Bane want you to finish books.
that is actually not why. I love my publisher, and please don't be mad at me. So I have used wild magic of a sort. It's really more like what I talked about before. But in Mage Light, the magic, the people in the story think that they understand magic and that they think that they have it down to basically a science. But the truth is they have just a very small understanding of the true extent of what magic is, what is actually the source of the energy that they call magic, and the ways in which people can utilize it. And so that's sort of one of the threads that goes through the first book and is continuing throughout the series, is that these are things that the characters are learning and finding out. So and on that note, I'm sorry to bounce early, but thanks for having me. I super love you guys, and I can't wait for part 2. Okay, bye.
All right. So, Melissa, I know you're the next one with the soonest heart out because these unreasonable people want you finishing books. But Melissa, have you used feral, wild, chaotic magic in any of your books? And if not, do you plan to?
So yes, I've got 2 examples. So the Valkyries, we're going to talk Hit World Valkyries with you soon. And I can think of no better example of just like a diverse, wild, chaotic magic system there where it's literally anything goes. And my main character, Athena, she has specific things that she can do with that magic, but it's all tied to her emotions and how she feels. And whether or not she can access that aspect of her talent was a lot of fun to play with. The other great thing with that whole magic system that Bill Webb built is that it's not a like constant source of power. It's like an ocean of power where it's super deep here, but here we're in the shallows and there's only so much to go around, which as an author is so much fun to play with, because for the plot you can manipulate it. So crap, your main character doesn't have the power to do what she needs to, and it's so much fun. And then for Rise from Ruin, it is I would classify it as very low magic. There's not like spells being thrown around or anything like that. It's like, well, we have dragons, we have griffins, and you have an entanglement of souls, that soul deep bond between a rider and either a dragon or a griffin, and that's magic at a foundational soul deep level. And I can think of nothing more that's it's wild. It's all emotion there.
And animals are unpredictable, so that gets the chaos angel.
So are people, turns out.
Yeah, especially when your people are just happen to be shaped like dragons or griffins, because they are just as smart as you or me, and some of them are smarter. Felix, my main griffin character, he's smart and he's sneaky and he's utterly ridiculous and also brave.
We love him.
We love Felix.
Yes.
Well, we will definitely do a part 2. We'll have to have you back, Melissa. Thank you for coming on. And Marisa, so I can differentiate the M's. Do you plan to use chaos or wild magic in your own stuff?
Yes, very much so. So yes, I also write in Valkyries with this fabulous lady here. And so in A Plague of Magic, have you guys seen the little internet cartoon? It's like a skeleton Santa and he's giving kids swords. And they're like, that's not safe. And he's like, it's a sword. It's not meant to be safe.
Yeah. Not supposed to be.
It's not, yeah. So that's magic in A Plague of Magic. It ended the world 400 years ago, allegedly, because it is a foundational force of the universe, like gravity, which is a thing I just made up. So here we are, 10 o'clock. So like gravity, people think they understand it and can therefore figure out how to manipulate it. But no. Also, see the Mississippi River, see ocean currents. Like we think we understand them and therefore we can control them, but absolutely not. And that's magic. So it might not be chaotic at all, but as far as people's ability to use it and manipulate it, it does not do what you think it's going to do, except for sometimes it does, but then other times it doesn't. And hence the world ends. So in A Plague of Magic, it's illegal. Like the people who have managed to scrape back into some measure of civilization are terrified of the implications for capital R reasons. And because the only way magic works in this world is if it sparks off other magic, they've done a pretty good job of stamping it out. Until
they didn't.
Until wild magic is back. And that's super fun to play with because one of the big themes throughout the book is, but were those people wrong? Like, this is awful. It's a plague of magic. It's real bad for people. Or is it? Right? So
yes, and
yeah. So
both. We'll say both. That's that meme, right?
Yeah.
So Jana, have you used wild magic in any of your creations?
Oh, frequently. I love me some good wild magic. I've got a cozy fantasy series that I've got short stories that are out and novels that are coming out, and that's all that. It's a ranch down in Arizona, and they stumble onto dragons, and the lovely woman who lives there is based on my sister-in-law, who is a real-life Disney princess. That woman can talk animals. I mean, she has a raven, and they have an understanding. She feeds it peanuts, and it brings her sparkly things. And then it started stealing the eggs out of her chicken coop, and so she shut the door and kept in the chicken coop. And the neighbor came by and went, "Why is there a raven in your chicken coop?" And Becky says, "We're renegotiating our relationship."
I want to be friends
because it's like I want to be friends with the raven, but there is a rule here. You don't get to take the eggs. And she talked wild donkeys right off of the neighboring land and into her place. She walked over talking and singing to them and brought a thing of water and feed and said, "Would you like to come and live here?" and open the gate, and they walked in. I mean, and so the stories are based off of that, because if that is not feral wild magic, I don't know what is. And I went, So what would happen if my sister-in-law found dragons? And all of the stories are based off of that one theme of what happens when this wild woman that I love so much finds dragons on her ranch. And
oh my God, I love it.
And I love it. It's so crazy. And like you say, weird things happen.
So first I'm going to say Odin does not approve of you locking the raven up. All right. You gotta make amends.
Acted better.
The raven should have left the eggs alone, man.
Right.
I'm just saying, and dragons are cool. Is this the same person that answers all of our horse questions?
Yes. Yes, she's a horse breeder. They breed Pasafinos, which is a really, really cool breed of horses. And every time I write anything that has to do with horses, I write it, I ship it to them, and I say, "Rip it apart and please tell me all the things I'm doing wrong." And they fix it all for me, and they send it back with very polite commentary. She's never mean about it. She's like, "Well, in this situation, you actually probably wouldn't do that, but this was a really good idea." She's very uplifting about the whole thing, even as she's telling me that would never happen and don't do that. It's like, oh, that's exactly the kind of help I need.
It's a brilliant idea that you stick your finger in the light socket, but don't do it.
Don't do it though.
Just maybe don't do that. If they did that, it would probably break the horse's leg, and that would all lead to badness. So maybe don't do that anymore. And I'm like, okay, well, let's not do that. Let's rewrite that very quickly. Click, 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 click.
Thank you. Yep.
And
so
yes, and she's amazing. So
to keep this simple. I have never used wild magic because I've only recently dove into the world of fantasy. I have written the ancient Egyptian gods and other elder gods, but I don't know if they qualify as feral or chaos or wild magic because there's definitely rules there.
I mean, I don't see why not.
I mean, they are unpredictable, but their magic has rules to it. So I don't think that's the same thing. It's the magic that has to be wild, chaotic, not the user. I would think we could dive into that part 2.
That's a part 2 question.
All right.
So, Marisa, if they wanted to find you on the wild interwebs, since I know you got to bounce in just a second, where might we find you? And just your most active place, and we'll link it in the show notes.
Yes, you should probably go to my website, marisawolf.com or .net. I go both ways. Because you can sign up for my newsletter. I mean, hey, and you will hear from me just once a month. which is not that long to hear from me. And that's probably your best place. Otherwise, Facebook, Always Shenanigans, or the Feral Ladies YouTube page.
And that will all be linked in the show notes. And warn me if you're going to tell a funny like that. I was drinking my coffee. That was not my.
No, don't warn him. Don't warn him because
not-
it's much
yeah.
funnier for me.
No.
For you. All right. So, Melissa, how might we find you on the wild interwebs?
So you can find me at melissaolthoff.net or .com. Really trying hard not to say Marisa's joke because it's so much fun. All right, fine. I go both
Is it
ways.
a joke, though? Is it?
It's fine. You can find me all over the social media sites because I am everywhere nowadays. And you can also sign up for my newsletter. And at some point here, I'm going to figure out how to turn my quiz into this awesome, like, what kind of dragon rider or griffin rider would you be if you were going to be going to the Tents of Bonna Training Academy to be a dragon rider or griffin rider if you're cool enough. And then I will link that to my newsletter signups, and it'll be awesome.
I thought I was cool because in my newsletter I tell army stories at the end, but you're like, no, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to tell dragon stories.
Right? Like, seriously,
Dragon
that'd be so cool.
Can't argue with success, right? So, and if you wanted to find Kacey, since she had to bounce, like I said, unreasonable publishers and wanting books finished, I don't know.
And life, just life, really.
Yeah, life, it happens. She is on Amazon. She has her own website at kaceyezell.net. Links in the show notes. She's all the cool places authors hang out. Even TikTok, where she talks about book things. And then the Feral Ladies podcast has their own domain now, so I will link to that as well.
Yes.
We're so cool.
Jana, if one might want to stalk
Oh,
you,
shiny.
Madam Co-host, where might they find you on the wild interwebs?
The Shenaniganator.
Yes, the Shenanigator. I really love that. That has to be the new thing. They can find me over at opalkingdompress.com. That is where me and my multiple personalities hang out. It's also where my open calls are. So, Melissa, I do have an open call for Griffin Stories. It doesn't close till July 31st. Just, in case you want to. And Marisa, anybody who wants to write Griffins for me. And there are more mystical beasts coming. So just, if people want to write for me, I want to publish them. So come and do that. And then you can find me under Jana S Brown or Jena Rey all over the interwebs. I am not good at hiding. I do carry a big stick though. So, if you're thinking anything, I do have a mace. So, and it is a good woman's weapon. So there you go. You can find me all over the place. How about you, JR? Where do we find you these days?
Well, I link to myself all the time, but we'll get to the second. We're going to talk about where you can find the podcast. But before we do that, since you mentioned Opal Kingdom, so in this kingdom, are you the queen, the princess, or the court jester?
Yes.
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 Do you assign them by personalities and pen names, or is it just all the things?
It's all the things. I am all the things. Me, myself, I, the other guy, all those things. I'm all the things.
All right, so this is the part, dear listener, dear reader, dear viewer at home, where I remind you to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right books, and it really does make a difference. And with that, you can find us on our Linktree, linktr.ee, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast. Again, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast, where we link to all the things, the BitChutes, the Rumble, the YouTube, the TikTok, the Twitters, the Spotify, the Discord, the Blasters and Blades Facebook group and Facebook page. You can email the show at Blasters and Blades Podcast at gmail.com. Again, Blasters and Blades Podcast at gmail.com. For professional purposes only, people save the Shenanigans and the Shenanigator for Madam Stabby Stab over there on the Instagram, Twitter, and the email. And now that we've got the Shenanigator, I probably ought to link to her in our link tree as well. But with that, you could support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section that is for the podcast, and I promise I will keep my co-host duly caffeinated. They will be double fisting that coffee brand coffee. No, that joke won't be family friendly. Anyway, links in the show notes. Podcast Grunt gets you 10% off. We get a little bit of a kickback. It's a win-win, people. And with that, I would like to thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-hosts who are absent, my new co-host, Madam Shenanigator, who sits in for us and is a frequent of the show, and me, J.R. Handley. This was the Blast Blaze Podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time. We'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. And maybe next time, just maybe, I'll get through that without stumbling and almost making inappropriate jokes. And with that, we're going to hit the end button. Wait for it. Don't cuss yet, Melissa.